Okay. Is that Ariel? Hello. Okay. Okay. So there's not twice as many people now. But there's still 3 or 4 more families who are interested in the trip who couldn't be here. But for now, I don't know if everybody knows each other. I don't know if everybody knows Tammy. I know everybody does not know each other. So let's go around real quick and just say our names and sort of if there's kids, how many they are and what ages they are. Maybe even their names. We can give them names. I'm going to go in the order of my buck. Well, we'll go first. So hopefully you know me. Oh, I didn't put on my uniform today. Oh, pardon my casual clothes. Tuesday is generally my day off. If we go to Israel together, you'll see me casual a lot. Jeff and Tammy, and we have 4 sons. Elijah, who is 15, and Simeon, who just had his bar mitzvah, and Gabriel is 10, right? And Isaac is 8.
Correct.
Awesome. Okay, Jonathan, you're next on my screen.
Jonathan Berg. We have 2 children. Sam is 13. He had his bar mitzvah this past summer. And Noah's 10, so she's about 2 years out because she's doing it on the early side for her bar mitzvah.
Great. Thank you. Glad you're here. Rachel, you're next.
Hey everyone, Rachel Miller, 3 kids. I have 16-year-old Jacob and 13-year-old twins, Ben and Gabby, who had their bar mitzvah this past year. I think it was the week before we all went in lockdown. So looking forward to the conversation.
Right. First weekend in March, right? Sam. Sorry, I caught you napping there.
Hey, Sam Perrant. We have 2 kids, 2 boys, Jonah, age 14, and Leo, age 12 right now. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Dale?
Hi, everyone. So I'm Dale, my husband, Sam. And we have 1 son who's 12 in his bar mitzvah year for October, and his name's Ian.
Great. Glad you guys are here. What? Oh, I misspelled Ariel's name. Sorry. I was trying to help. Go ahead, Sherman's.
Hello. Excuse the setup. So we have Jared is our oldest. He's 17. Then we have Corey, who is, well, Jared's turning 17. Corey's turning 15. And then Sarah, who's turning 13, and her bat mitzvah is this weekend. So all of this is us trying to get ready for the virtual celebration. And so we're testing the technology. Actually, this is perfect timing because we're using it you're on the big TV right now.
Oh, wow.
It looks fancy.
Very sparkly.
It's normally not up like this. Because of the dog, we have it folded up. It'll be.
Oh, I see. Because the little corner of your picture was sticking out there. I was going to say something.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's this. Yeah. It's just up so he doesn't eat it.
All right. Well, I'll make sure at the bat mitzvah to mention that you get your merit badge and set design for the bat mitzvah. Julie, I don't know where Andrew ran off to, but why don't you go ahead?
Hi, I'm Julie Musicus. Andrew is attending to Sabrina, who just hurt her foot. So we have Sabrina, who is 13, and Alexander, who is 16.
Awesome. Ariella? Oh, Ariella's distracted.
Just trying to manage the
all
people
the timing.
off screen. So I'm Ariella, and we have 3 children. We also have a Sam who just had his bar mitzvah this past year. So he's 13, and then we have an 11-year-old boy and a 10-year-old girl.
Awesome. Evan, are you with us? Oh, I saw your microphone go off, but I still can't hear you. Evan, is your mic not working? If you're talking, your mic is not working. All right. Well, if you figure that out, get back to us. That's Evan. He's got 2 daughters.
All right,
okay.
there I am. Sorry.
Oh, hello.
Hey.
Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hey, Evan, I don't mean to be rude with my camera off, but my computer setup is not ready to put it on. Anyway, I have 2 daughters, as the rabbi said.
Very good. Okay, so we are really excited to share this idea with you of an Israel trip. Just so you know, I wanted to mention there are exactly 1, 2, 3, at least 3 more families from the 2020-21 B'nai Mitzvah class who have also expressed interest in the trip. So it's a nice big group, which is good because the bigger the group, the more reasonable the price is, as we'll talk about later. But before we do that, so years ago, Tammy and I decided that we would, for every one of our boys' bar mitzvahs, take them to Israel. That's not a sexist thing. We just don't have any girls. So if we had girls, we'd take them for the bat mitzvah also. For every one of our children's b'nai mitzvah, we would take them to Israel. And we did that for our oldest Elijah's, and we had planned to do that this past February. And actually even had talked to a couple of you guys about planning a trip for last week, that we just kind of floated it out last, January, February, and then folded it up shortly after the pandemic started. But to introduce just the whole idea and why we think it's so important to bring our kids and your kids to Israel, your families to Israel, as part of the B'nai Mitzvah, I wanted to ask Tammy to actually mention a little bit about our experience taking Elijah and his brothers.
Sure.
And why we think it's just such a great idea.
So, as Jeff said, this was something he's about to go manage our children too. This was something that was really important to us. I had the experience of going to Israel quite a bit when I was young, because my father had grown up there. And so, which compared to Jeff, he only went starting when he was 16 and had a wonderful experience. But one thing we always compared was how much more Israel felt like a place that was just a place that I went, another home to me. And for him, for a long time, it was much more like this foreign place. So we determined we wanted to bring our kids and make them feel like it was home. And we just had such an amazing experience taking the boys. For Elijah, what we did was we found a place that seemed special to us and gave him an opportunity to take an aliyah in Jerusalem, and that was amazing. But also just bringing them around the country, whether it was the food. You should have seen their eyes when we walked into the hotel for Shabbos and there is that buffet dinner. If you ask my son now, he will still tell you how many kinds of chicken there were and what each one was. I mean, it was just like this shock of experience for him.
Food is very important to
Food is very important to particularly our oldest child, but that was something really special to him. But just all these different elements and letting each of them experience the land in different ways. And we did things that were particularly focused on one child or another, but the ability to just be there and to live in that space we were there for a little over a week, was just it like solidified so much of what we had been doing in the lead up to his bar mitzvah. So his bar mitzvah had been in Labor Day. We went to Israel the following winter break. So it was a couple months later. And in many ways, I think that those couple months of maturing helped to make that be even more impactful for him, and really was special for all of them. Looks like you're looking for something.
Dictionary, does it even exist anymore?
I will help look for it in a second. So it was really an amazing experience. And just to highlight one last thing, Simeon was there with us, and he remembered one of the mitzvah opportunities we had on the trip, which was we went to Hadassah Hospital. We got a tour of the Chagall windows, and it was beautiful, but we also brought with us a whole bunch of toys and puzzles and games and things like that. And we got permission to bring them up to the children's ward, and we delivered these toys. And actually, interestingly, Simeon of all of our children was the least nervous about interacting with other children, and particularly ones who might look a little different because they had things attached to them and stuff, and they were not well. And we didn't realize how much it impacted Simeon until he was writing his Devar Torah for his bar mitzvah 2.5, 3 years later, and wanted to reference that experience. And that is just an example of to highlight how we don't even know which experiences in Israel might sort of land in a person's soul and heart and blossom there. But by providing them all these different possibilities, something ends up hitting, and it's not necessarily the ones that you expect. And that's what I am so excited to bring the boys back again. And selfishly, I'm really excited to go back again. I mean, at this moment, I'd be excited to go almost anywhere, I think, but particularly back to Israel, because I know that every time I go, I also have another thing that touches me. I'm gonna look for the dictionary.
I don't think there's such a thing. I think it's just a website, the dictionary. Who gives an assignment to look things up in the dictionary now? Anyway, can we do this real quick? I just want to go around one more time. I should have done this the first time. I just mentioned like what you would like. Why are you interested in this trip? What would you hope to get out of taking your family on a trip to Israel? So I'll give you. So Tammy just spoke for us. I'm just stalling to give you a chance to think it through real quick. And now I'm gonna mix it up a little. So Julie, why don't you go first?
Great question. I think we would love our children to have a connection to Israel, to get a taste of all that Israel offers, from the history to the food, to the culture, to the spirituality. It's just such a moving, meaningful place. Andrew and I actually met there, so we would love to finally share the homeland with them. So yeah, so I mean, and there's a million reasons. I just think it would be great to share the specialness of Israel with them and create memories. And I think it'd be really, really special to go with the WJC. So thank you for pulling this together.
You bet. Awesome. Thank you.
I want to know more about that story someday.
I'd be happy to tell you.
Very good. Thanks. Sam?
Yeah, so my parents are Israeli, and I was born in Israel. So we have we have family there, cousins and stuff. So I've always prioritized having a connection to Israel for my kids who are growing up here, of course. So very much like Julie, Israel is very meaningful to us, and we talk a lot about it as a family. So no better way than to kind of make the discussion sort of like real with like sort of being there physically, and so I wanted to do that. I was curious when you reached out about doing it through WJC about sort of what the itinerary, what might be, and what Tammy just mentioned about, I think it was Hadassah. I didn't really think about that. I thought more about sort of a bar mitzvah type experience, like I think you mentioned with your son, at the Kotel or whatever. And then, sort of some touring and things around the country and doing stuff with our family. But I didn't think about opportunities like for tzedakah, things like that. And so that's why I was curious, about what your itinerary might be, because it's probably different and could be meaningful compared to something we might do on our own, which we had considered. And Rabbi, I think I reached out to you a year ago when we had contemplated doing this for my first son, my older son rather. That was not to be. So now we want to do sort of a double event. Anyway, that was a lot for me.
No, that's great. I recall. And one thing that is nice is that it's also fun for us. So we did Elijah's trip, which is a family trip, but I ended up meeting up a couple of congregants from Norfolk who were there at the same time, and did bat mitzvah for right, but no mitzvah. That was true.
No,
So
sure.
bat mitzvah for one of them, and even just being with them for a day, like I got to sort of frame that the spiritual side of the experience for them. And that was really it's fun for me as a rabbi also to like go and be able to sort of do that framing and share those pieces. Jonathan.
So I'm just here to learn. I've been to Israel myself once when I was, I guess, a teenager. It was a long time ago. None of the rest of my family have, and they would like to go. So we've talked about doing it, but it wasn't necessarily the next trip on our kind of that we had planned. But so, I mean, it's not really something that we've had a lot of conversation about. I don't, you know, I've been to Israel once. I enjoyed it. I don't have that strong connection right now, to be honest. But I figured, yeah, let's hear what we have to say and see if it's something that, you know, that we can do, or, you know, makes sense for us. But, and with, I mean, it's true with the kids, like, you know, one having just been bar mitzvahed and the other one already kind of almost on the track. You know, I think the timing might be interesting, might be relevant.
Awesome. Dale and Sam?
Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, as Jordan said, I also went to Israel once, and it's Ian's bar mitzvah this year, and perhaps we thought, Dale and I, that would be a good opportunity for him to go to the Kotel and to visit all the places that you guys teach them at the Hebrew school, and we talk here at home. So to have a real understanding of our religion, culture, etc.
Awesome. Thank you. Ari?
It's like a no-brainer. I always wanted to bring them to Israel. I thought my first visit was very special. I've never been with my husband. I've never been with my children. So, I mean, I have 3 kids. I'd love for them to connect and see the Middle East and see Israel and everything that they've learned. So I think it'd be really special. And then it'd be fun to go with you guys.
Totally. Thank you. Evan?
I think after this year, my older daughter having had her bat mitzvah, this would be a meaningful experience that would, I don't want to, I guess that would make up for an experience that was not normal for the typical bar bat mitzvah experience here at home.
So really well said. I like not normal, right? Wasn't not awful, but not normal. Great. Nancy, Eric?
So Eric and I have actually never been, and neither of her children, to the best of our knowledge, without us, no. None of us have been. And so we've always wanted to go. We were never sure what the right time was. We wanted them to be old enough to understand and appreciate. And it's, to be frank, it was always overwhelming to me to try to even think about planning a trip, not knowing where to go, what to do, what to see. So I think going with the synagogue would be perfect because it would help do that for me. You do the hard part. And then I also, and to be honest, I don't think our kids understand why we want to go. I don't think that, we don't necessarily have a big family connection to Israel. And so to them, they would rather go to the Caribbean and sit on a beach. Like they don't. So it will be some work to get them excited and why it will be special, especially for us to do it together.
I got that. I totally got that. We used to take teen tours. We've got that, no problem.
Great.
Yes, and that's almost like the reason why you would want to bring them, right? And Israel will do that work. We'll do, like, once we're there, Israel does the work for you. But I will mention that one of the things we want to do is have a teen counselor, because the way we're gearing the trip, because I know a lot of our 13, 14-year-olds, first of all, they're going to be, for some of them, it's going to be already a year since they're, or more, including Simeon, since they're bar mitzvah. So it's not really a bar mitzvah trip in the same way. Tammy and I have been talking a lot about that. And they have older siblings. So we want to actually have like a teen counselor, and there'll be some like teen programming specifically for them, which I think will really help, to give them a chance to sort of go off with someone who's an expert, that kind of thing, and do something different. I think will be really great, and maybe a nice break for us all as well. So Rachel.
Yeah, so I visited Israel often growing up. My father had one of his businesses located there, so we would take family trips. So definitely feel the connection, and Scott and I have been as well. I took Jacob, my sister and I took our 2 oldest. So Jacob and my niece went with my parents before his bar mitzvah, and it was the most memorable of all my trips. I mean, it was incredible. And he still talks about it. So the memories he had from that trip, and similar to what Tammy was saying, we visited an orphanage when we were there, and the two kids just like jumped in and bonded with the kids there. We spent the night, at dinner and just spending time, and it was really meaningful, and Jacob will never forget that trip. So I want to do the same thing for the twins.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. We also, so we took, well, I was a rabbi in Israel for 8 years. So I did 7.5 confirmation class trips to Israel with 16-year-olds. And the mitzvah pieces were always a highlight. We used to take them to a couple of places. Leket Yisrael, which was like, they would go pick oranges basically at these like farms where all the produce would go to the poor, and the Jaffa Institute, which was like a boys and girls club, an after school program for the very, very impoverished population of Southern Tel Aviv. Yeah, and those are always the things that the kids like later on when we talk to the teens, like what were the highlights? It would often be those things. And the other thing I want to mention is just that when it comes to trips like this, like taking kids around teenager, even a little younger, some people be like, oh, I want to take them when they're older and they'll remember it more and they'll go again. Like, but I never went when I was a kid. It took me years to really develop the love and passion for Israel that I have, and about 3 trips, because I didn't go until I was 17, and then I went again in college, and then I went once. By the time I went after college, I think I went to live for a year, and I was hooked. But I think really there's so much feeling that can be taught that only when the kids are younger. So I'm of the belief that the younger you can take them to Israel, the better. So, oh, Joanna, I'm not ignoring Joanna. Joanna's actually here. Hi, Joanna. Sorry. Joanna's here looking at hopefully a potential trip in 3 years or 4 years to do this. So I'm not skipping her. I mean, I'm skipping her, but that's why. Her kids are a little younger, but she was interested to learn about it. Okay, so without further ado, so a little introduction to our itinerary. So the trip as it is currently planned, there's a lot of flexibility here, and I want to point that out. And the decisions we make are going to affect everything from what experience we can do, to what the price will be, to how it's going to affect school break and whatnot. So we plan this to go over February break. The itinerary I'm going to show you has us leaving. That's fine, Joanna. Great. I'm just want to pull it up. But I had it pulled up. Sorry. No, I had it pulled. Here we go. All right, I'm going to share my screen. So the other thing I want to say, so it's very preliminary. So the guiding company I'm working with is called Keshet. They've been around forever. They're terrific. The particular trip planner who we're working with is a guy named Jeff Winston. Jeff is a great guy. He was my camp counselor when I was 16 years old. He made Aliyah. He's been working in this business forever. He's terrific. And he actually offered to come to meet all of you guys tonight. It's 1:30 in the morning, or now getting close to 2 o'clock. I was like, what, are you crazy? He said, well, it's been a while. We haven't had trips for, a year and a half. I said, Jeff, sleep, when we get a little further down the road, we'll make sure we have a meeting sometime during the day when we can meet Jeff, and maybe meet our tour educator that Keshesh would be providing. But for now, you're stuck with just me. But Jeff and I know each other very well, and we'll build this. This is made from sort of a standard Keshet itinerary, and we'll build it out as we go. So.
And if I remember correctly, one of the things that Keshet does that's special is that they are very good at creating intergenerational trips. Some are really good at teen trips. Some are really good at. They're really good at intergenerational and understanding that there are different needs, both the pace and physical needs and all these different things across generations.
Right. So this trip is designed such that if you had grandparents who want to join you, that there will be alternative options for them, so that, kids can go to I don't know, a ropes course. I don't think we're actually doing a ropes course, although I know there is one now, that there could be a trip to museum or something for, those who are not ropes course certified. So, okay. Any questions about any of what I just said before we take a look at the schedule itself? So the trip as planned is, if you have a question, by the way, I can sort of see all of you, just wave or do the hand raise thing in Zoom, and feel free to interrupt at any time. So the way we designed the trip, we have a choice. We could leave Saturday night after Shabbat on February 12th, and have a very tight week in Israel, or we can leave Wednesday night in the middle of the night, and land Thursday morning, Thursday, and have a little bit, be able to sort of spread it out a little bit more. Obviously, kids will miss 2 days of school. I feel it's worth it. So the trade-offs are, it's a much more spread out itinerary. We get 2 Shabbats in Israel, very relaxed, really get a chance to just sort of like be in the country. We'll get a Shabbat in Tel Aviv when we get there, which is going to be really fun and cool. Then a Shabbat in Jerusalem before we leave, which is going to be really spiritual and amazing after touring the whole country. So it's a really nice itinerary the way it is. Obviously, it's a few more nights in hotels, so it's going to be a little more expensive. The hotel, all the hotels in Tel Aviv are great. The one that they are proposing is a really nice hotel right on the beach. So anyway, that's how it is. And I asked a few people, is a couple days extra off from school okay for a trip like this? And all the feedback I got was yes. They're like, if we're gonna go, we're probably just doing this once. Let's do it right. But I'm very happy to take other feedback about that. And if you want to give feedback offline, all questions and whatnot are welcome. Okay, so we would fly out on Wednesday night. We'd land on Thursday, the 10th. They meet us in the airport. For those of you who've been, you know what that's like. For those of you who haven't, it's made for tourism. It's Israel, so it's all really easy to do. We'll land, let's see, right, they're 7 hours ahead. So by the time we land, we'll leave on like an 11 p.m. or midnight flight that Wednesday night and land 1 or 2 in the afternoon on Thursday. So that'll be enough time to get to our hotel. The Carlton in Tel Aviv is a beautiful hotel with its restaurant right on the beach. It's really stunning. I've stayed there before. We'll have rooms on the beach. We'll settle in. Dinner is included. So here's one of the things when you think about pricing, the things that sneak up on you. So this is a 10-day trip. It includes 10 meals, 7 dinners, and 3 lunches at great restaurants, and breakfast every day. So we chose to do it that way. We've done it both ways, where everybody go find your own dinner. There's something to be said for that, and we have some of those. But these will set us up with really nice restaurants and really fun restaurant experiences. And it includes some really neat off the beaten track restaurant experiences. So that's all built into the cost. So there's welcome dinner at a restaurant that they'll book for us. Tel Aviv, by the way, the restaurant scene is like crazy. It's like a European capital of foodies now. And lucky for us, there's a big trend among the best chefs in Tel Aviv to make their restaurants kosher. All the restaurants were treif, but now they're all koshering their restaurants. It's like this big trend, which makes me happy. Okay, so okay, so we would sleep Friday. We'd get a chance to really experience Tel Aviv. We'd go to Independence Hall, kind of see how the country came to be. Then we go to the oldest neighborhood of Tel Aviv that's now gentrified and trendy and beautiful, and sort of see how the other half live. There's a big crafts fair every Friday in Nachlat Binyamin. So we walk around the crafts fair, buy all this cool, like it's all Judaic. One of the things that's really nice is you walk around Tel Aviv, it's like going to a crafts fair, whatever, at Lincoln Center, except everything's got like Jewish, not everything, but there's a lot of Jewy themes, and it gives you that feeling like, oh, this place is different. This place is ours. The city is different. The city is ours.
Do you tell them that you cry every time?
Every time.
At Independence Hall.
No, I didn't mention that. And then we'll head back to
Rabbi, you're going to send us this, right? We don't have to take notes, or
Yeah, I'm actually not going to send you this. I will eventually send it to you. But
Okay,
yes, you definitely don't have to take notes. If you want this, you can have it. But we're going to
It's more
refine
the
it.
feel at the moment.
Right, we're going to refine it a little more. What I really want you to do is sort of give feedback, ask questions. If there's experiences you feel like are missing, or if there's experiences you don't really feel, and you don't have to give that feedback tonight, but just that's how I'm kind of offering this, but also to give you a feel for it. And then we'll have sort of,
Turn to Tel Aviv.
yeah, this is wrong. This should say Tel Aviv. So, okay. And we're in Tel Aviv the whole time. We're walking around. This is just leftover, I guess, from as he was building it. And then there's all kinds of different things we could do, secular and religious, for Shabbat in Tel Aviv. And then we come back to the dinner. Tammy already described what the dinners are like. So right, not only is it 7 meals, but these dinners are massive buffets with like just ridiculous amounts of food, and they are rather expensive, but definitely an Israeli Shabbat experience to have. Saturday morning, we'll have a chance to recover. So right, we'll be tired because we're going to take this long flight, and then we're going to chill, and then we're going to have a busy Friday. Saturday is going to be very chill. We'll have options to attend local services in town. Tammy and I have found a synagogue that we really like. Last time we've only been once for Shabbat in Tel Aviv. We were very impressed. So you could come with us. You could do something else. You could not. February, it's going to be a little cold for the beach to actually sit on the beach. But you can definitely walk on the beach or on the panorama and relax. There'll be an optional tour of the Rubin Art Museum. So if you're looking for things to do, or of course, that would be a day if you have family in Israel. Tel Aviv is a very central place. They could come in depending on their level of observance, but if it's secular family, they could come in and visit or whatever and figure that out. And then a night out on the town, which probably some curated things, and then just to do whatever you want. It's a hip, fun place. So we'll figure it out. Sleep at the Carlton again. Now we're well rested, and we head out into the country. So that is our time in Tel Aviv. So first thing we do is head to the desert, because you haven't really experienced Israel unless you've experienced the desert, and it happens to be beautiful. So we'll go to along the way all kinds of different experiences. So it's a sort of a hodgepodge of experiences of ancient Israel, of modern day Israel, of Israel's independence. So the Ayalon Institute is this really cool place. It's right out of like a James Bond movie. It was a hidden bullet factory during the Independence War underneath a laundry. It's crazy, like in this kibbutz, and it's all preserved and you can see it. It's very impressive. Then for pick vegetable, grow that, right? So lunch, we'll do this thing called the salad trail. Shows all how they grow, basically made a garden out of the desert, and then we eat lunch there. It's a neat experience. That's one of the meals we have. And we'll visit Ben Gurion's home, and then go to the Bereshit Hotel in Mitzpe Ramon, which is, I've never been there, but it's apparently really, really nice. Spend the day in the desert on Monday. Explore basically this beautiful desert site. Mitzpe Ramon is a big crater. It is technically geologically different from a crater. All my Israel tour guides from like years and years of trips would be very happy that I know that, because they love to explain all about it. But we'll have a chance to go rappelling, jeep ride. It's out in the desert, hike a little. It's a really cool, beautiful area. Day in the desert, and then we'll stay in Mitzpe Ramon again. Get up on Tuesday. See the sunrise in the desert, which is beautiful. Have a camel ride, because you got to have a camel ride. Do an archaeological dig at Beit Guvrin. Anyone who's done Dig for a Day, you have the Dig for a Day T-shirt. It's like a classic. The kids love this one. Like, it's such a great experience. They all remember it. It's amazing.
And you can find real things. It's like, I remember one of our kids was like,
no, it's crazy.
Did they put this here? You're like, no, these are actual things.
Yeah, because it's basically these caves that it's a giant garbage dump, but in the giant garbage, so it's just piles of like pottery, and like you always find stuff. It's really it's fun. It's neat. And they've been digging it since I went on my first trip in 1992, and I know years and years before that, and they're about halfway through all the caves. It's a crazy project. So that's great. And then we'll make Aliyah up to Jerusalem. We'll go up to the rooftops. We'll frame the whole experience of making Aliyah to Jerusalem, and go to the Kotel to say, hey, we're here. And we're staying in the Inbal in Jerusalem. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jerusalem hotels. The Inbal is a really nice hotel, right in the center of town, accessible to everything. Wednesday, big day in Jerusalem, touring the old city, busy, fun. Machane Yehuda, for those of you who went to Israel like 20 years ago, Machane Yehuda was the shuk. It was like this outdoor vegetable market. It is now this super hip, trendy, like restaurants. It's just great. Bars. It's pretty wild. So we'll go to the shuk at night. It's been gentrified like everything else. We'll get a chance to go into the Kotel tunnels here, which is an amazing experience. But basically back in time, 2,000 years, and stand and touch the stones that maybe our ancestors touched when they came to Jerusalem. Thursday morning, we'll get up. Those will have a service. Those who are celebrating B'nai Mitzvah, and really anyone who wants, will do enough aliyahs so that everyone can do it at the pluralistic section of the Western Wall. It's part of the Davidson Center of Archaeological. It's not really whatever. It's a whole big history. We like to glibly call it the Conservative Kotel. So we'll do the service at the Conservative Kotel. We'll do the Chesed project, whatever it might be. My preference, I've been talking to Jeff, I'd like to split into multiple groups and have options of what they can do for their Chesed projects. So we'll figure that out. And then we go out into the desert to this kind of shticky Abraham's tent thing where they serve the best shawarma that I've ever had. And I've had a lot of shawarma. Abraham's hospitality, kitschy though it may be, has not lost its edge.
And they make the kids participate in the like Abraham play. Our kids loved
it. It's
it.
a whole shtick. It's great. It's fun. I don't know if the kids loved it when it was happening, but they still talk about it now. It's like one of those experiences where like they see the picture like, oh yeah, remember when
they made the littlest one the big idol. It was funny.
Yeah. So back to Jerusalem for the night. Friday, a little intense. Yad Vashem, the Holocaust Museum. Depending on the age of kids, we can have alternatives. When we did it in the past, we had a group who went to the Jerusalem Zoo and a group who went to Yad Vashem. So we can gauge, depending on who comes and the ages of the kids, we can make that work, especially if we have this extra counselor with us. And then there'll be kind of free time out in Jerusalem before Shabbat, prepare for Shabbat. We will go back to the Western Wall for Friday night services. It's an insane scene, or it used to be, probably hasn't been for the last year. I hope it will be again. And then another crazy Shabbat dinner in the hotel. Saturday, we'll offer a variety of Shabbat services in town. Maybe we'll split up and Tam and I'll go to different ones. And one of our tour guides will go to a different one. So depending on the kind of experience you want, there's a little street. I used to do a tour of like 3 synagogues. Like we would bounce just to see one Syrian, one Karli Bach, and one just sort of like standard Israeli up in Nachlaot. So we'll figure that out. Come back to the hotel for lunch, and then on Shabbat, so we can do a walking tour of the old city. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre on Shabbat is crazy. It's mobbed. I've done this part of the tour before. My last trip to Israel was with a minister from Norfolk. It was this program called Interfaith Partners for Peace that actually UJ Federation, for those of you who are involved, helped fund. So we did this walking tour of the old city and of the Christian Quarter, and it was really amazing. It was fun to do with Jack. Musical Havdalah, there's a big laser light show at the Tower of David, and then a night to go hang out on Ben Yehuda or whatever the trendy thing is now. We could go down to the Tachanat Merkazi, the old train.
Oh,
The old
yeah.
train station has now. Israelis love to convert like historic places into like hip night scene
Oh, it's
places.
really cool.
So so the old train station, which you might have visited when it was the old train station 20 or 30 years ago, is now this very hip like food courty kind of with restaurants and things. So we'll go do that. Sunday, one more day, we'll go down to Masada. You know, we'll go down from Jerusalem. It's about an hour and a half to Masada. We'll hike in En Gedi, talk about some of the biblical stories that do all these things, go to the Dead Sea. We do it nice. We do it from a spa. So you get to float. That's important. Back to the hotel for a shower and a relaxation. And we'll fly out on Sunday night, Sunday late afternoon, Sunday night. It's a very short trip back because of the time difference. So we'll end very, very early in the morning on Monday morning. Kids may or may not make it to school that morning, but the extra day is just so precious. So that's sort of an example of what we've got. I think it's super exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Questions and thoughts. Ari, go ahead. Wait, you're muted.
I just quickly looked at the calendar and I wanted to confirm the dates because our school is actually off the week of the 20th.
The week of the 20th?
Yes.
This is built around President's Day, I think. Whatever President's Day.
So this is off by a week.
Which school are you in? Which district?
Irvington.
Public schools. But our calendar says we are off the 20th to the 26th that week. President's Day is the 21st.
President's Day 2021 says February 15th.
2022.
2022, sorry. Maybe he was looking 2021.
Yeah.
It's February 21st.
Yeah.
She's
All right.
correct.
So we'll update it. It will be the week that the kids are off. It is designed to go over break.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it was the right week. Okay.
Yeah. I'll get back to Jeff and tell him this actually, these dates are still from this year.
Right.
I don't know if he was looking at this or this is just, he updated this. This was our original itinerary that we built for a year ago. Well, for a week ago, a year ago. So we'll update all those dates, but the concept is all the same.
But it's a good question.
I wanted to make sure before I get excited.
Yeah, no, a good question and important that I get back to him because he's about to start looking at all these hotels and looking.
And I'll confirm, I'm just confirming the Mamaroneck School District is as well. So it's February 21st to 25th.
Yeah,
Thank
very
you.
good.
That was helpful.
Yes, make a note of that.
Hold on.
I don't know. I have to look for next year.
I'm looking.
So the
We
two
don't have calendar yet.
family days,
What's that? I'm sorry, I missed it.
Shabbats would be family visits or other.
Yes, and of course you could always break away for a family visit, or depending on family schedules, we'll juggle and accommodate with people who have family in Israel as needed, which is what we've done in the past. But it's always easiest because Shabbats are very laid back, and of course, for secular family, Chiluni Israeli family, that's their weekend. Like they're working on Sunday.
Right.
They kind of have Friday off, but it's getting ready for Shabbat or whatever. So Saturday is a good visitation day.
Right. And even things like, if you don't want to go on the nighttime rooftop tour on that Thursday.
Right. Or any evening,
Tuesday.
at the hotel or whatever works. Other questions, thoughts, things that they see. So now again, depending, go ahead.
Rabbi, a quick question, and I don't know maybe if this makes sense or not. All the places that you're planning to visit were in my list, except for, I don't know if they are far away, or maybe we can try to see if it makes sense or not. What about Sfat, Eilat, Yafo, and Hebron?
So good question. So Eilat is way, way, way far away. It's a 5 hour, you would fly to Eilat. So if you want to, so here's what I would recommend. If Eilat's big on your list, you would extend the trip and go on your own to Eilat. It's a resort town. It's very, and you would fly down. It's like a 1 hour flight. It's about a 5.5 hour drive from Tel Aviv down to Eilat. It's very long, narrow country. So Eilat's not having, we made a choice. The choice was between going north or going south. In a 10-day trip, we really can't do both. We decided, especially on a trip with kids, the desert's cool, it's fun, it's different. They'll get to hike, they'll get to jeep, they'll get to rappel, all those kinds of things. The north has the city of Sfat. And it also has hiking and whatnot. But in February, it looks a lot like hiking here in the summer because everything's in bloom. It's very green and lush up there. So the desert's a little bit more of an experience. Also, we get to talk about the Bible and things like that in the desert, which we don't do in the north.
And the desert in winter is actually very pleasant as compared to if you go on a summer
Right,
trip.
right. It's right. It's very temperate in the desert in the summer. Jaffa, of all of those, Jaffa is definitely a possibility. Jaffa is just South Tel Aviv. It's a very cool place. We could definitely, if that's sort of what the consensus is, work that into the thing. It's cool. It's an ancient town. It's kind of become an artist colony, and there's lots of shops and things to do. Was that all of them?
No, the other two, which of course I know about the distance, one would be Haifa and the other one Hebron to see the Machpelah, no?
Right. So Hebron is in the Shtachim. We won't go into Hebron is in the West Bank.
Yeah.
So our trip will not go across the Green Line into the West Bank, which is unfortunate. I've always wanted to go to the Cave of Machpelah. Like, yes, very high on my list to do. We won't do it on a shul trip for sure. I did, by the way, on that Interfaith Partners for Peace trip, we did go into the West Bank. We went into Bethlehem, and I got to go to the Church of the Nativity, which was really wild. It's not quite as personally religiously meaningful as the Cave of Machpelah, but it was very neat. And Haifa is up by Sfat. Like Haifa, it's just too far north. It's the choice between going south to the desert or going north to Sfat. Also, to be honest with you, there's just not a lot to do in Haifa. There's certainly not a lot Jewishly to do in Haifa. It's a very cool city. It's a very working class, kind of real Israelis, Arab and Jewish, living in proximity. There's the Baha'i hanging gardens, which are very cool, but it's way out of the way for just not that. So most trips I've done, we have not gone to Haifa. But again, that's something. If going north, to go north and south, you really need, and have it be worthwhile, you really need a 2-week trip, like a full 14-day trip. So you can extend and do those things. We could, if people were much more interested in going north than going south, we could adapt. But that was the thinking in the designing of the schedule.
So having said that, let's say that we decide to join this group. Is there a way that we can stay an extra 4 days and talk to your guide and see if that is feasible?
100%. No problem. As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you a price that doesn't include airfare at all. We'll have a plane ride that we will arrange together, but no one is going to be obligated to take it. It's not going to be, I don't think anyway, we'll have a group rate on any airline, maybe if we get enough people. But because people might want to use like airline points, I recommend this is a great way to use airline points. Although the prices are pretty reasonable right now to take a trip to Israel, that may be because when you go there, you have to quarantine for 14 days. But right now I looked, it's anywhere from $950 to $1,200 a ticket to fly to Israel. It was before the pandemic as much as $1,800 to $2,000 a ticket. So still, like, so you might want to, if you have United points, you might want to fly on a United flight, and the group is taking El Al, that's fine. We'll meet up when we get there. So absolutely, any kind of extending, you'll be able to do it. And Jeff, the guy at Keshet, will be happy to sort of help make those arrangements.
Thank you.
Even as much as setting you up if you wanted it with a personal guide, one of his guides separate. Totally, you'd make the arrangements with them and whatnot, but they can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Sure. other questions about just sort of what we're doing? It's fun. It's exciting. I'm excited looking at it, talking about it. For those of you who've been to Israel before, but not for a while, like somebody said, "Oh, I went once and it was really neat." It's like a different place. It's totally changed. It's really remarkable. Okay, I'm gonna take this away then. Okay, so the pricing I'm going to give you is totally pie in the sky. So this is not the set in stone pricing. I'm going to give you a range. I'm going to kind of tell you how it breaks down, and then I'm going to tell you some extras that we're trying to throw in. So right now, with the itinerary being exactly the way it is, it comes out to between $3,500 and $4,500 a person for the 10 days. That's for 2 people to a room. And there's a maximum allowance of 3 people in a room. So if you have a family of 6, like me and Tammy, we will put 3 in each room. So if you do that, a child staying in a room with his parents or her parents who's under 13 years of age, it's $1,400 less, maybe $1,600 less, right? Or if it's a child who's over 13, I think it's $600 less for each of those children. So depending how so I can't give you an exact price, depending how your family works out, it might work out a little bit differently. So that pricing is with the hotels all there that we said. If the group those are all really, really lovely hotel experiences. I've never stayed in the Inn Ball, but I've stayed in all hotels at that level. Those are like top notch. That's like the top notch experience. I asked Jeff if we wanted to go smaller, if we wanted to take all the hotels down a notch in level. The hotel in Tel Aviv would still be on the beach. In fact, it's where we stayed. It would be the Renaissance Tel Aviv. That's where we stayed when we were in Tel Aviv. I'm not as familiar with the place in the Mitzpe Ramon, but it's supposed to be nice. And I don't know the hotel that he mentioned to go to in Jerusalem, but the savings could be fairly significant, like $500 a person off, which would just be a decision of what kind of experience we want to have. I have done it both ways. I think it's better to go. My own experience has been it's been worthwhile to go with the hotels that are a little bit nicer. That it makes the experience, again, if this is a once in a lifetime kind of trip and a once in a lifetime family experience, that it's worth it. But that's something we can talk about offline. We don't have to talk about it now, but we can talk about it offline. So that's what we're looking at right now. Now here are the other pieces. So that pricing is for 25 people. If we get to 30 people, it's $150 less a person. If we get to 35 people, it's $150 less than that, and so forth, up until about between 45 and 50 people. Then we would have to add another bus, and then it's less. So right now, there's a lot of interest in the trip. If people go ahead, we could be talking about $300, even $450 less a person, because everything gets less with volume. So that's one thing. The second thing is, as a bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah gift to your children who had to have a bar or bat mitzvah during a pandemic, the shul would like to offer $1,000 discount for the bar or bat mitzvah person. So that would also be like a discount off the price for the whole family. It'd be $1,000 credit basically for that. I think those are all the provisos and details. So any questions or thoughts about that?
You mentioned the teen counselor. How does that play into the pricing?
Doesn't.
Okay.
Did I actually say that all comprehensibly? Is that great?
I was trying to get to my mute button, which was on the TV, and I couldn't get there fast enough.
See, we are good practice.
Go ahead.
You are good practice, yes. So if we want to get others excited about it, do they have to be WJC members? Could we?
Oh, great question. No, they don't have to be WJC members. We won't give any of like even if their kid had a bar bat mitzvah, if they're not WJC members, we're not going to give them the present from WJC, which hopefully everyone thinks that's reasonable. No, it's great. The question is going to be, look, as far as I'm concerned, the more the merrier. It's fun. It has if and when we bump into 2 buses, the benefit of having more people goes down, right? So the pricing will shift. And as we know, a couple things I want to mention. So first of all, as we know how many people we have, we'll be able to get the pricing more exact. If we do get to 2 buses, which would probably be anything over 50 people, it's just too crowded in the bus and with all those kids and whatever. In fact, we'd probably split it even sooner than that.
Can we be in a different bus than our kids? No, just kidding.
Well, no, but honestly, it gives us the ability to split up more easily. Like we already have 2 buses and 2 bus drivers. Otherwise, we have to bring in an extra little like mini bus whenever, which I've done on trips for like the more active things. If we want to split off grandparents or even some parents, if we have 2 buses, it's easy to do that. Or even to like send the kids, rappelling while the grown-ups go. Wine tour sounds good. Yes. So, so there's all kinds of options. And I'll also be talking to Jeff over the next few weeks, and we'll look into more of those foodie experiences. The food is so good in Israel right now. So we'll make sure that those restaurants are, there's just a lot of great stuff there.
I don't know if you noticed, but Eric just like sat up when you said that.
I did see. I was like, there's a little troll coming out. Just give a little. It's the last trip that we took. It was just insane. So
I don't think we ate a bad meal.
No, and some of them were just anyway. Don't expect to lose weight while you're there. Let's put it that way. So that's So no, I think non-WJC members are definitely welcome, and because it benefits the whole. And taking people to Israel is always fun, and it's a chance to meet more people and all those kinds of things.
And particularly, we'd love it if family, I mean, it can be friends also, but we would love it if family wanted to come and be a part of it, because, I know that at least for some of us, some of our family couldn't be at our children's bar and bat mitzvah. So I think for most of us, we were missing some pretty important family members. So if they feel comfortable coming on this trip, then that's an bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah style experience they will get to have with the child.
Right. And some of that, right. So the concept of the trip, and this may or may not be true for your individual situation, but like we had budgeted for a celebration that we're not having. And so the trip is a way to make it special for Simeon in a way that, that we weren't able to do through all of our family being there and having the big party and all those kinds of, he would have had a big party. He's our one boy who would have like really liked a big party. So that's sort of where it's at. This was the other thing I wanted to say. We will need to start thinking about locking this in for sure around the time school will be starting in September. We picked February rather than winter break for that because we just wanted to give a little more time to know what the world might look like. So the trip going is contingent on, vaccinations being available, things being open, we will make sure that we don't get stuck. That was like another thing, like my hope, I'm very optimistic that by February, Israel is doing great on the vaccinating piece and whatnot. So hopefully their end will be fine. It helps when you only have 8 million people to vaccinate. And I'm optimistic at least. And I've been told that there's good reason to be optimistic here that we'll be able to fly, we'll be able to travel, and it'll be less complicated. But should there be, we'll make a final decision going or not, it'll be around September, October. And until then, there'll be no, I can't say no financial risk. I shouldn't speak out. I'm currently talking about it with Jeff, but hopefully minimal, like maybe there'll be a deposit or something, but if there is, minimal, and then we'll go from there. with the 6 months leading up to the trip, there'll probably be a payment. Usually it's like a payment every couple months, like a third, and a third, or something like that. And I don't know, other questions, other thoughts. So the next thing is we'll send out, we'll work on polishing the itinerary. We will, you pointed out, we'll polish the itinerary. We'll get the dates right, which will probably be a nice thing. And we'll send it out with like sort of a proposed pricing package, those kinds of things, and registration forms. And if you have questions, if you have questions specifically, there's specific questions about any part of this presentation, you know, send me an email, give me a call, and happy to talk through it. Good.
Sounds good.
I don't understand what that means.
Do you want to mention after this group opening to the whole WC?
Oh, right. So depending, so look, if we get 7 families from this group who want to go, and that's 30, 35 people, then we'll just make this a B'nai Mitzvah tour. If we don't, if we get 3 families or 4 families who really want to go, we may look into ways to open it up to like, I still want to be able to go with those 3, 4 families and whatnot. So we'll look for ways to open it up maybe to the greater WJC community. Again, with like an adult, they'll be kind of separate trips, but going together. So as of right now, there seems to be a lot of interest. There seems to be a lot of, but we'll see as people start making real decisions about it, how many people we have, and we'll make a decision about if it's just going to be sort of B'nai Mitzvah and their families or not. Either way, we're going to have the B'nai Mitzvah experience. We're going to have, you know, that's going to be part of it, and we'll all celebrate together. So we'll know in the next, hopefully, 6 weeks or so, you know, if that's how that's going to play out, because we'll need to start advertising at that point. Thank you. That was an important point. And that's it. So hopefully you're all going to come, and it's very exciting, and we're excited about it.
So fun to look forward to something.
Yeah. And if you have any questions or suggestions, let us know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.